My name is Nainoa Dung. I just turned 18 and I'm fighting out of Macau, Hawaii. I've been fighting for a long time now. I think my first actual fight was at the age of 6, but I've been training since 5. You know, in the beginning, it wasn't always like this though. I wasn't always training to become what I'm trying to become now. In the beginning, my dad just trained me to be able to protect myself. Coming from where I'm from, you gotta learn that at a young age or you're gonna get picked on. You gotta stand up for yourself. You know, as far as I could remember, growing up, my dad used to take me to the park and train. You know, it wasn't to train for a fight or whatever, it was just to train to prepare myself. Like from where I'm from, you're gonna get into fights for respect, for whatever. And that's what he was preparing me for. But one day, this guy, he approached us at the park while we were training and, you know, I don't know what was said, but we went home that night. I got a good night's rest. The next morning we woke up, we headed out. My dad rushed me to get ready to go and train. I didn't know where we were going. We usually train at the parks, but we were heading to a gym. And when we got to the gym, it was crazy, you know. There was this kid warming up on the mat. So I was looking around, I seen the crowd, it was a bunch of families, and I guess the kids' friends and parents, they were all there. You know, there's his trophies, his pictures on the wall. So on that moment, I kind of got the picture. You know, they invited us to come down and I guess challenge me or challenge that kid. So at that moment, me and my dad kind of read the play. We headed in to the bathroom area. My dad told him we had to go get ready. He looked at me, he told me, "You ready?" And like at that age, you know, I just said yes. I never know what was going on, but I guess he knew what they were trying to do. They were kind of trying to set us up, but he looked at me and he said, "Everything we were training for, this is what it's for." And we went out. I beat the kid up badly and like, it was quiet though. No one was cheering, nothing. Like they were just amazed at what I did. Like, it's crazy. I'll never forget that day and that feeling. And they passed my dad a key. I never know what it was for. But the next morning, we got up again. We headed to the same gym. My dad had the keys to the gym. He opened the gym up. I looked at his face. He looked at me. That look on his face, I'll always remember. I never understood what it was, but today I know why. At that moment, in his mind, we made it. But who would have thought that was just the beginning? From then on, we took our training serious. You know, it wasn't any of that training backyard or at the gym anymore. You know, we were training professionally and we hopped into competition, entering every tournament we could, you know, jiu-jitsu, whatever we could, just to prove I was the best. So we stopped for a while though. My dad told me we gotta stop this. It's not worth it. Let's just prepare and we fight whoever they're claiming is the best to prove that I'm the best. We used to fly kids in or we used to fly out and that's pretty much how it started. You know, I considered myself the best and I'd fight whoever, whenever to prove that an 8-year-old me, you know, I was ahead of the game at the time. I've been training for a while now and we were taking our training serious. Like I said, you know, we stopped doing the tournaments we were doing. We started seeking out real competition. We were looking for the best in the world at the time to prove that I was the best in the world. So at 10 years old, me and my dad, instead of training at that place we were just training at, we seeked out the best gyms and best teams in Hawaii and cross-train at each one of them. At the time, it wasn't accepted, you know. People called us traitors and whatever names they called us, but we were just doing what was best for me, getting the training I needed, taking what I needed from each team or group and adding it to my game and my arsenal. And I think that was the best thing we could have ever done at the time. From the beginning, you know, like 7, 8 years old, we issued challenges. every birthday of mine, you know, I consider myself the best at that age that I just turned. And we issued the challenge out to anyone that felt differently. You know, there were some kids that stepped up over the year. You might see the videos. You know, we flew them down. We flew the coach down, a family member, and we had them staying in a hotel. And, you know, at the time, well, anyone, you know, there's a lot of great fighters that came out of Hawaii, but at 10 years old, they weren't doing what I was doing. And I know that for a fact. I'm not putting anyone down, and I'm not saying anything bad about anyone, but I know what I was doing at that time, no other 10-year-old was doing. By the age of 11, I had a belt in each major organization on each major island. You know, people were against it, but my dad knew my worth, and, you know, the promoters knew. I guess, yeah, they believed in me, and they knew where I'd be today, and I thanked them for giving me the chance. And to everybody that believed in me at that young age, I just want to thank you guys. And, you know, I wouldn't be here without you guys. I love you all, and I do this for you guys. I do this for Hawaii. You know, while me and my dad was doing what we was doing, there always was that person saying you gotta come out here with the real competition, you know, come to California or come here. So we started paying our flights and entering tournaments out there, you know, dominating every tournament I entered. And like, if I could, I wouldn't have even went. It wasn't even worth it, really. We should have just kept doing what we were doing, but sometimes you gotta shut them up, you know, and we were trying to prove I was the best, and that was just something I had to do. At 13 years old, you know, on my 13th birthday, my dad, my uncles, they asked me what I wanted for my birthday. And, you know, growing up, people were saying you gotta come out here where the real competition is. So I told them I just really wanted to go out there and prove that I'm the best. For once, you know, we offered challenges to fly them in. None of them wanted to come in, so we went out there and we dominated. We smashed the competition. It wasn't even funny. My dad used to research, you know, he used to look online for the best kids at my age or like organizations out there. And one day he found this MMA organization in Washington, which allowed underage MMA. And like, that's what we were training for. MMA, and like out in Hawaii we only could kickbox or do like jiu-jitsu. So my dad paid my flight, me and him, we went out there. The promoter set me up with a champion out there. You know, it was a main event in Washington. I was 13. Nothing like that was unheard of. I finished the kid in the first round. The crowd was crazy, and like my dad just seeked out the best competition for me, like to prove that I was the best. And like while he was searching, he found this organization that allowed underage MMA, and he hit the promoter up. He told him, give us a chance, we'll pay our own way out there just to prove that I was the best at that age. So they set me up with a good opponent. I guess he was a champ at the time. It was the main event, my first main event, first major organization main event, and you know, I took the belt from him, I defended it, and from that time on, I knew what my purpose in life was. Me and my dad was so confident in what we believed that we used to pay our own way just to get out there and prove that I was the best. You know, older, bigger opponents, it's just what I had to do. You know, these days though, it's different. I know my worth now, people know, and we do this smart. You only get one shot at this, and that's all you get. But if you do it right, that's all it takes. 15 years old, I just came off of 2 tough losses. You know, I took a little break, that's why around 14, 13, 14. After that, I took a break to play football. I wasn't training, you know. I tried hopping back in and I was a little behind. I lost 2 really close fights. I could have won, it could have went either way, but that woke us up. And from that point on, we started taking stuff extra serious. Dieting, the training, everything. And I got my rematch on one of the losses and I avenged it. I'm happy about that. On the other one, I still never got that loss back, and I'm coming for it though. He knows who he is, but at this age was probably the best point in my career right there. Really taking stuff serious, getting the training I really needed, you know, started building that team, the winning team. From here on, we just took over. A star was born. If it wasn't for those 2 losses, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. You know, I was too comfortable. I used to rely on just skill, but my work ethic was always great, but I got too comfortable and they made me realize that I gotta start taking my training serious. Can't just rely on my skill anymore. These guys are getting older, you know, stronger, faster. So it kind of evened out the playing field, but always was ahead of the game. Right here in my mind, that's where I always win my fights. You could be stronger, faster, better, but you're not gonna break me. I'm gonna keep coming and I'm gonna find a way to win. There was a big event in Hawaii. The Pancrase flew down from Japan to Hawaii. They didn't have any Japanese teams to fly down, so they flew in this kid from California, considered to be the best at the time. You know, he was a good wrestler. I was training with a great team. You know, it was Hawaii Elite. It was like Max Holloway, Yancy Medeiros, like all the UFC fighters. And I dominated the kid. In the first round, I stopped him. And it was a great night. But after the night, you know, after that night was over, my uncle came up to me. He told me, we gotta get you out there, choose a place, you know, choose a place you wanna go and train at. And I chose Jackson Wink, and I think that was probably one of the best decisions I made. I met a great group of people out there. The coaches and the team is great, you know. I love the style. You know, my longtime coach, friend / uncle, Frank Lester was out there, so it was crazy. I met him in California when I was 13, and it was crazy meeting up there at that point in our lives. And so I had my training out there for a couple months, and then we flew back, but I flew him back with me, and I took this fight. It was like an MMA fight. We smashed this kid even worse this time. You know, it was in the first round too. 2 first round finishes in a row. After that, I think, fight was after that. I think it was the fight against this kid from Michigan. This kid was beating everyone where he's from. He's a champion, kickboxing champion. We flew him in, broke the attendance records that one night. We sold the event out. I stopped him in the first round. It was crazy. My most recent fight was after that, just a couple weeks ago or last week. We broke the previous attendance record from my previous fight before that by a lot. A lot of people came out to support me. Felt like the whole Hawaii was there and on my side. You know, I've seen some people that, not gonna say hate, but some people that didn't like what I was doing. You know, they see me as coming off as flashy and cocky, but I'm just doing what I gotta do. And it was crazy because I felt like everyone was on my side at that night. You know, the whole Hawaii was on our side. It was like really Hawaii versus everybody, and it was great. You know, it was a tough fight. The whole story behind this that not too much people know was I was sick leading up, like the whole week leading up to the fight, I was sick. I was thinking of not even taking the fight, but I know I had to give the fans what they wanted to see. I sacrificed a lot, they sacrificed a lot too, and I know I had to show up and do what I had to do. The kid was tough. He lasted all 3 rounds. I dominated every round, clearly. I was sick, it was so hard to breathe. I just kept digging deep and pushing, and we got the win. We gained a lot of fans, we gained respect, you know. My opponent and his dad, you gotta respect those guys, they're warriors too. I wanted to thank them for taking the fight, for coming out and really pushing me, you know. Gave me a tough fight, and it was a great night. That's all I can say. You know, the next day was my birthday, so I'm 18 now. I was 17 at the time. I'm 18, and now this is where it really gonna happen. This is where it counts, like really counts. You know, as soon as I turn pro, that record sticks. Like if I get a loss, it'll be there forever, and not trying to have that happening. So I'm gonna listen to my team. I know they know what's best for me. I'm gonna do whatever I gotta do. Like, we're gonna do it smart though. You know, a lot of guys out there that wanna fight me because of my name and what I got, but if it's not worth it, we're not taking the fight. You know, I know my worth. There's levels to this, like they say, and I'm cool with that. You know, I just turned 18, and I know I'm starting from the bottom. Like, this is only the beginning. We're doing big things though. But I'm gonna take my time. You know, you guys can't provoke me. You guys don't get in my head, and I can't wait. Hopefully, make my pro debut sometime soon. We see what happens though. Whatever my team says is right is gonna be what we're gonna do, what we're gonna go with, and I just can't wait. I'm not gonna rush though. You know, I'm not trying to be the best in Hawaii, I'm trying to be the best in the world. I said that before, and that's what I believe. You're gonna see me at the top, whether you like it or not. Just recently, I headed down to Waianae Boat Harbor. I gave away a car there. You know, there was no use for it, and I just wanted to give it away. And that day I chose the right person to give it to. So like, not too many people know, but there's a homeless encampment in the harbor, in the bushes. And I gave it away to the lady who pretty much runs the place. And from then on, she told me this whole story about the kids that are living there getting bullied in school, and like if I could do something about it. So I went home that day and I told my dad, I gotta do something about this. So we started like what's that called? I don't know, like self-defense classes, you know, so they could defend themselves if they had to. Teaching them like the right way to do things. You know, not teaching them to go and beat the bully up, like it wouldn't be right. Just how to defend themselves and what to do in certain situations. And then just blew up from there. We set up a whole gym in there. We had rings, we got bags hanging there. You know, it's crazy, you gotta come out and see. Check my Instagram out, whatever, Nainoa_Dung. And yeah, you know, I did a couple speakings at the intermediate I went to, you know, different schools. I know a lot of kids look up to me. I'm young, you know, and I want to give them like a positive role model at this young age. You know, they don't want to listen to like that old man talking, and like they want to look up to like someone in their generation that they could look up to. And I'm happy that could be me. Like, no better person, you know. Feel that tough spot. It's a tough like role to fit in, but I'm glad I'm doing it. You know, I was a shy kid too growing up. Never used to talk, like, but I had to break out of my comfort zone. You know, the people needed me and I stepped up. I believe in myself and I believe that I'm the best in the world. You know, if it was up to me, I would be fighting, you know, these guys that they're saying to fight, to prove myself, but I put my trust in my team. I trust in their decisions and their calls. I know they want what's best for me. And like they said, there's levels to this. And we starting off from the bottom and we're gonna get there. But I know in my heart and in my mind, I'm the best in the world. But at the end of the day, you gotta understand that the fight game is a business. You know, so I put my trust in my team to make the right calls and the right decisions for me. I know we're gonna be competing at the highest level of competition eventually. Right now, we're starting off from the bottom and we're working our way slowly. We're doing everything right, and I thank them for that. Fighting is everything to me. Fighting is my life. Everything revolves around fighting. You know, my day is set up around fighting. You know, when I sleep, I wake up just thinking about fighting. That's all I think about is fighting. You know, I love my family. They're supportive of me and my career. We sacrificed a lot, and it's all gonna pay off in the end. I know that. The winning team, we consist of highly motivated individuals that refuse to lose. And our motto is, we mind our own business, we do our own thing, and we don't bother anybody. My name is Nainoa Dung. I'm from Hawaii. I'm 18 years old, and I'm just a kid from Hawaii.